Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 179 based on novel. So let's start. All Heaven Star System. Wang Lin's pupils shrank. In his memories there was no information on All Heaven Star System. Even in two-size memories there was nothing on this star system. The woman inside the scroll trembled. She seemed to want to turn around, but there seemed to be an invisible power that prevented her from turning around. Home. Wang Lin pondered for a bit. He stared at the scroll and said, "I have already brought you to this place, now it's your turn." The woman let out a sigh and her ethereal voice came out. "Do you want to hear a story?" Wang Lin frowned. His expression was gloomy as he coldly said, "Not interested." The woman was startled. She revealed a bitter smile and said, "A long time ago, there was a mysterious domain. This place was the holy land of cultivators from all over the world, no, the entire universe. It was called the Celestial Domain. Many of the rumors about the Celestial Domain have disappeared in the river of time. No one is even sure if this Celestial Domain even existed. However, one rumor has been passed down. The rumor was that the Celestial Domain abandoned the cultivators and left this universe. The only things left were the 4 tunnels that used to connect to the Celestial Domain. After countless years, those 4 tunnels became places where high-level cultivators had to go and became the Celestial Realm. These 4 Celestial Realms respectively are Wind, Rain, Thunder, Lightning. Below each of the 4 Celestial Realms is a corresponding star system. Above my All Heaven Star System is the Thunder Celestial Realm. The heaven-defying bead doesn't belong to the Alliance Star System, it first appeared in my All Heaven Star System. No one knows how the bead appeared, but when it did, all the top cultivators in the All Heaven Star System felt the existence of the ancient Celestial Domain. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he coldly looked at the scroll, but he didn't speak. One can easily imagine that a trace of the ancient Celestial Domain made all the cultivators crazy. However, in the end, this bead mysteriously disappeared. Countless years later, we obtained some clues. For some reason, this bead appeared in the Rain Celestial Realm of the Alliance Star System. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes as he pointed above and said, "It was you who set the transfer array." The woman inside the scroll pondered for a long time before shaking her head. "I didn't enter the Alliance Star System from here, but that transfer array was indeed made by a cultivator from the All Heaven Star System. That transfer array is no longer functional, unless there is an All Heaven Stone. Not even a Celestial Jade can activate it. I have told you all I know about the heaven-defying bead. As for the soul inside, my ancestor can definitely help you. As long as you bring me back to the All Heaven Star System and send me home, I'll definitely ask the ancestor to help you revive the soul inside." Wang Lin's gaze was cold as he stared at the woman for a long time before he withdrew his gaze. The moment he saw the All Heaven Star System, he regained his calmness. What the woman said was obviously meant to lure him to the All Heaven Star System. Wang Lin calmly asked, "Which sect in the All Heaven Star System do you belong to?" "The All Heaven Star System is not the same as your Alliance Star System. There are no sects, only cultivation families. My family is the Xiong family on planet Dawn Lin." Wang Lin seemed to ponder. A moment later he said, "I'm afraid I can't pass through this vortex with my current cultivation level." The woman inside shook her head and softly said, "You have the heaven-defying bead, so you should certainly be able to pass." There was a faint flash of coldness in his eyes. Since this woman was so certain, she must have concealed a lot of things. Wang Lin no longer wasted time with the woman. His right hand reached out and grabbed the scroll and moved. He didn't go through the vortex but flew upwards. The woman inside the scroll immediately said, "You don't want to revive the soul inside the bead." Wang Lin silently pondered as he charged out. He spread out his origin soul, making him fuse with the suction force, and flew upwards. Along the way, no matter what the woman said, Wang Lin didn't reply at all. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin arrived at the large rock. Across from the large rock was the crack. He landed on the large rock and carefully looked at the transfer array. His origin soul sent out lightning through his feet and into the large rock. Cracking sounds immediately came from the large rock as lightning moved through it. Then with a bang, the rock collapsed into rubble and was sucked away by the suction force. Without this large rock, this place became the same as everywhere else in this pit. Wang Lin grabbed the scroll and entered the crack 200 feet away. After entering this place, Wang Lin waved his hand and the scroll was inserted deep inside the wall. His eyes became cold and his hand formed many seals, then countless restrictions landed around the scroll. Why are you doing this? Without my help, the soul inside your heaven-defying bead can't be revived, the woman's anxious voice came from the scroll. Sound sealed. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his hand moved faster and faster. The countless restrictions almost covered the entire crack. He had checked the scroll while he flew up and knew he couldn't destroy it. However, the woman inside knew too many of his secrets. Since he couldn't kill her, then might as well permanently seal her. Wang Lin. Without me, the soul inside your bead will never be able to resurrect. The vicious voice from the scroll was like a ghostly wail. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy and his hand moved even faster. The vicious voice got gradually softer until it completely disappeared. This sealing process lasted for several months. During this time, Wang Lin never stopped. The countless seals together formed a terrifying seal. After several months, Wang Lin took a step back and flew upwards. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes as his right hand hit the crack. The crack immediately collapsed, burying the scroll deep inside the cave. From the outside there was nothing abnormal about it. No one will know that there is a woman inside a scroll sealed here. Even if someone were to arrive here, they would be too busy resisting the suction force to bother checking this wall that looked the same as every other wall. After he finished sealing, he didn't immediately leave but stayed at a distance and silently waited. Time slowly passed. Several days later, there was a faint fluctuation from where the scroll was sealed. The moment the fluctuation appeared, Wang Lin, who was a distance away, opened his eyes and revealed a cold smile. His hand formed a seal and a black shadow immediately appeared from behind him. This shadow charged directly toward where the crack was. Seal. Wang Lin let out a roar and the celestial guard's hand formed a seal. A powerful seal immediately appeared on the celestial guard's hand and pressed down on the fluctuation. Wang Lin vaguely heard a miserable groan. Then his eyes lit up, and along with the celestial guard, they both placed down countless restrictions in the depths of the crack. After finishing this, Wang Lin withdrew the celestial guard and silently waited. Several months later, that fluctuation appeared once more, and what awaited her was another complete sealing. After 3 times, Wang Lin pondered a bit and no longer waited but flew straight up. The woman inside the scroll is probably very powerful, but she is sealed inside the scroll. I'm afraid she would have never had the chance to escape at all. However, back then she absorbed the third ancestor's spell, 1. Chapter 434, and gained some power. I didn't check, so over the years she learned a lot of my secrets. Unless it was due to the special circumstance of the tide abyss, I'm afraid she would have never talked. Instead, she would have silently waited until she recovered. If I keep a hidden danger at my side, it will definitely affect me in the future. She must have ulterior motives. Wang Lin thought about this as he flew up. Only about 30% of what she said was true, but the All-Heaven Star system shouldn't be fake, or else she wouldn't have asked me to take her there. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he floated upward. The suction force here was powerful. Although Wang Lin had become part of the suction force, he could still feel a pressure preventing upward movement. He took a deep breath and slapped his bag of holding. The 7-star sword formation flew out and surrounded his body. The formation created a powerful thrust to help him fly up. The Xiong family on planet Dawn Lin. Even if this family has nothing to do with the woman, I should still be able to find some clues about her identity. Since she said that her family's ancestor can revive Wan, then it is worth checking out whether it is true or not. Without that scroll following me, even if I go to the All-Heaven Star system, no one will know I have the heaven-defying bead. After all, this demon spirit land is filled with danger, and the Allseer and company can arrive at any time. Once they arrive, it will be unavoidable that we will meet. When facing these cultivators with cultivation levels I can't even imagine, I'll be powerless to resist them. As Wang Lin flew up, his eyes became cold. However, since that last token is in my hand, they can't enter the real cave without me. Even if they come to the demon spirit land, it will be useless. Even if they learn from greed that I have the token, it will be too late. I will have already left for the All-Heaven Star system. Once my cultivation level has increased to the point where I can be on equal term with the Allseer and company, then I can come back and discover the secret of this cave. Wang Lin's eyes were bright. However, before this, there are some matters that need to be dealt with. After I leave, I don't know when I'll be able to return. Wang Lin let out a sigh. The 7-star sword formation gradually lost its effect. The shadow appeared behind Wang Lin and the Celestial Guard created a tornado, increasing Wang Lin's speed once more. He was getting closer and closer to the entrance of the pit. A large mosquito herd roared outside the entrance of the pit. The purple mosquito's originally dispirited eyes suddenly lit up. Then it suddenly rushed out and pushed aside some of its companions that were in the way. It stared into the pit and let out bursts of sharp cries. The happiness in his cries was indescribable. The mosquito's body trembled as it flapped its wings and charged like lightning into the pit without any hesitation. At this moment, even though all the mosquitoes cried at the same time, they won't be able to prevent this mosquito from charging down the abyss. While Wang Lin flew up, he immediately noticed the roars coming from above. He looked up and saw the mosquito beast he hadn't seen for over a decade. When the mosquito saw Wang Lin, its eyes filled with joy. It circled around Wang Lin, letting out cries like a child who had been away from their parents for a long time. It excitedly flew under Wang Lin and carried Wang Lin up. With the help of the tornado from the Celestial Guard, Wang Lin flew directly out of the pit. At the moment he came out, Wang Lin let out a breath of relief. The reason he was able to leave, aside from becoming one with the suction force, was largely due to the 7-star sword formation and the Celestial Guard. The weakening of the suction force played a big role as well. The suction from the pit was unpredictable, sometimes it was strong and sometimes it was weak. If it was during a period when it was strong, even with Wang Lin's advantages, it would be hard to come out. After flying out while standing on the mosquito, he immediately saw thousands of mosquitoes staring at him with red eyes and releasing thick, hostile auras. Wang Lin slightly frowned. There were fewer mosquitoes compared to back then. There must have been some unexpected change during Greed and Ju Yi's battle to cause the number of mosquitoes to decrease so drastically. I just don't know what exactly happened. Wang Lin pondered a bit before placing his hand on the mosquito's head and activating his divine sense. Various scenes immediately flashed across Wang Lin's mind. Halfway through Ju Yi and Greed's battle, a male and female cultivator descended from the Fire Demon Country exit. These two were simply too powerful. With a simple grab, Greed was captured. Ju Yi was also easily captured, but it looked like the two had no malicious intent. In fact, the moment they saw Ju Yi, the man's eyes revealed melancholy and nostalgia. The mosquito herd didn't die, but a majority of them were captured by this couple. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Lin's mosquito had noticed that something was wrong and had used a spell to make itself look like all the other mosquitoes, it might have been captured as well. When Wang Lin's divine sense returned from the mosquito, his expression was gloomy. He pondered a bit before patting the mosquito's head. The mosquito let out a roar, and instead of flying toward the exit at the Fire Demon Country, it flew toward the entrance at the Water Demon Country. Now that Wang Lin could fuse with the suction force, any location could be an exit. While they flew, the thousands of mosquitoes followed. They would occasionally let out cries of despair and hopelessness as if they were trying to dissuade Wang Lin's mosquito from leaving. On this day at the Water Demon Country, a purple light rushed out into the air. It was the mosquito beast. Wang Lin was sitting on the back of the mosquito with a gloomy expression. After the purple light appeared, more than 2,000 mosquito beasts charged out as well, completely surrounding Wang Lin. Their gazes were locked on the purple mosquito, and their cries were even louder. Wang Lin's mosquito's eyes revealed decisive gaze as it repeatedly cried as if it was responding. The sadness in the surrounding mosquito's eyes became even stronger. They all looked at Wang Lin with a vicious gaze. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stood up and the lightning from his origin soul spread out. At this moment, he seemed to be surrounded by lightning and lightning seemed to come out of his eyes as he coldly looked at the mosquitoes. Feeling Wang Lin's mood, the mosquito below him immediately let out a sharp cry. This gave off a powerful pressure that caused the surrounding mosquitoes to slowly disperse. Wang Lin took out a bag of holding, opened up a gap, and looked at the surrounding mosquitoes. The mosquito herd was completely silent. After a long time, one of them immediately flew out, turned into a ray of grey light, and entered the bag of holding. After that, other mosquitoes followed. However, not all of the mosquitoes chose to enter the bag of holding. Around 2/3 chose to remain silent. They quietly watched Wang Lin and their king disappear over the horizon. After a long time, they all let out cries filled with sadness. Then the mosquitoes' bodies collapsed one by one. They all decided to destroy their own hearts and fall down the entrance to the tide abyss. In the distance, Wang Lin's mosquito beast's body trembled and it slowly turned to look at the direction of the tide abyss. Its eyes were filled with sadness as well. Wang Lin let out a sigh and rubbed the mosquito's head. With his understanding of the mosquito beast, he now understood that unless the mosquito was a child, it could never be tamed. All of those that entered his bag were all still children, and all of those that decided to commit suicide were adults. In the world of the mosquito beasts, if they were abandoned by their king, then they could only die, unless a new king appears, that is. Wang Lin couldn't bear the mosquito's sadness, so he jumped off its body and put it inside the bag of holding. Only by allowing it be with its several hundred companions and the thunder toad could it slowly recover from the sadness. Wang Lin floated in the air as he looked up at the blue sky and white clouds. It had been a long time since he had seen the sky. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a crystal appeared in his hand. His divine sense entered the crystal and it immediately began to emit a golden light. The light surrounded him and soon the light disappeared with Wang Lin inside. When he reappeared, he was already inside the cave. Looking at the remaining restrictions, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he muttered, "The next time that I come back, I'll break all the restrictions and unlock the secret of this cave." He took a deep breath and his hand formed a seal to seal the cave. Then he destroyed the transfer array so no one else could enter this cave. Not even the blood ancestor would be able to enter. After doing this, Wang Lin looked at the cave meaningfully. The cave spirit appeared at the entrance, but he only looked at Wang Lin and didn't speak. Wang Lin turned around with the crystal in his hand and left. Wang Lin appeared outside the soul refining tribe in the Sky Demon country. The people of the tribe were startled for a moment, but then they immediately began exclaiming in joy and bowing. Wang Lin didn't collect all the soul fragments collected by the tribe but instead called 13 and Ouyang Hua. After leaving behind some orders and cultivation methods, he even taught 13 the latter half of the giant demon clan cultivation method. After this, he left the tribe. At the moment he left, 13 knelt on the ground and kowtowed a few times toward Wang Lin. Ouyang Hua did the same, and their eyes were filled with sadness. Although Wang Lin didn't say anything, they had a feeling that in this life, it would be difficult for them to meet him again. In Sky Demon City inside the Demon General's mansion, Shi Xiao sat in the lotus position. Beside him, Chen Dao was also cultivating. His cultivation had recovered to the mid-stage of Ascendant after years of healing and medication. He had even advanced a little. Although still a distance away from late stage of Ascendant, he was not too far away. Shortly after, Shi Xiao opened his eyes and his eyes lit up. Chen Dao also opened his eyes and his eyes had a profound gaze. Shi Xiao calmly said, "Chen Dao, tomorrow I'll go to the Demon Emperor and recommend you as a Demon General. Then you can go to the Dragon Lake to cultivate. Although it's not the true inheritance, it should benefit you a lot." Chen Dao replied, "Tomorrow I will have to call you Vice Commander-in-Chief." Shi Xiao revealed a proud smile and said, "This position should have been mine 100 years ago. Mo Lihai only stole it from me through underhanded methods. If it wasn't for that lowly Wang Lin, what would Mo Lihai be? Chen Dao looked at Shi Xiao and calmly said, Wang Lin is my junior apprentice brother. Shi Xiao raised his brow and coldly smiled. Where was your junior apprentice brother during the war with the Fire Demon country? He took advantage of everyone at the end of the war and took our credit. Although he helped Lord Ancient Demon, he shamed us all. Moreover, that person has been missing for many years now. I'm afraid his bones can't even be found. You remember him as your junior apprentice brother, but I'm afraid he no longer remembers you as his senior apprentice brother. Chen Dao silently pondered. Shi Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of sarcasm and he said, calling him lowly is me being nice. If he didn't then I'll kill him myself and let him know how a cultivate should act. Is that so? A cold voice came from the void. Shi Xiao was startled, but his expression immediately became gloomy and he shouted, who dares to act all mysterious? Come out for this, General. Chen Dao's eyes lit up and stared at the sky. He only saw a black shadow appear in the sky. Behind him was the round moon, and he closely closed in under the moonlight. His body gave off crackling arcs of lightning. It was a very shocking sight. You are Wang Lin. Chen Dao's eyes narrowed when he recognized the shadow's identity. You sure have courage to dare to break into my mansion. Immediately leave in 3 breaths of time, or else die. Shi Xiao's gaze was cold and his eyes contained killing intent. In recent years, his cultivation had surged. He was equal to an early-stage ascendant cultivator, and his body was filled with demonic spiritual energy. Wang Lin landed on the ground. He calmly looked at Shi Xiao and slowly said, I promised someone in the past to take your life. Today I came here to fulfill that promise. Killing intent exploded from Shi Xiao's eyes and his body charged. He turned into a shadow and charged straight toward Wang Lin. As he moved, his hand formed a seal and he was about to use a spell. Wang Lin's body didn't move, but under the moonlight, the shadow behind him immediately became ferocious. It suddenly charged out from the ground and in an instant passed by Shi Xiao. Chen Dao's expression changed greatly. Just as he was about to step out, the shadow that passed by Shi Xiao revealed a fierce gaze. Under this gaze, Chen Dao's body trembled, his origin soul shrank, and he completely stopped. Cold sweat flowed down from his forehead. Yin and Yang stage, Chen Dao's eyes were filled with terror. The black shadow returned to Wang Lin and turned back into a shadow. Shi Xiao fell down with his eyes still open. There was still killing intent in his eyes, but his life and everything about him had already shattered. Wang Lin turned around and left. Under the moonlight, he seemed to be stepping on the moon. His clothes fluttered and his hair floated in the air as he flew farther and farther away. Be careful of Master. Wang Lin's voice echoed in Chen Dao's ears. He stared at the sky for a long time and was speechless. After Wang Lin finished all the matters he had to deal with, he appeared outside the entrance to the tide abyss. He turned around to look at the land before raising his head to look up at the sky. His gaze seemed to penetrate the sky and continued to climb until it finally broke through this land and reached the East Demon Spirit Sea. Outside the gate of the East Demon Spirit Sea, the All-Seer, Ling Qianhu, the Blood Ancestor, and 7 or 8 elders were standing there. Everyone was waiting for Ling Qianhu to opening the gate when the All-Seer suddenly exclaimed. He looked at the gate to the Demon Spirit Land and his eyebrows began to tighten. They were going to enter the Demon Spirit Land several decades earlier than planned. This was because 10 years ago, the All-Seer suddenly felt extremely alarmed. He hadn't had this feeling in tens of thousands of years. This feeling came from the Demon Spirit Land. This came from the mark he had left on a disciple called Wang Lin. At that moment, the mark was forcibly removed. This wasn't the first time a mark had been removed. A long time ago there was a disciple called Sun Yun who also managed to do this. The person with an uneasy mind wasn't only the All-Seer. This person's uneasiness came from his daughter, Yao Shishue. As time passed, his heart felt even more uneasy. When people are at his cultivation level, this kind of uneasiness doesn't come from nothing. This was why when the All-Seer suggested they enter early, he was the first to agree. Yao Shishue was his only daughter and his only family. For this daughter he would disregard everything else. Similarly, Ling Qianho's heart was gloomy. 9 of the 12 swords' life lamps had extinguished. Ling Qianho hid his anger and prepared to enter the demon spirit land. He was going to thoroughly question greed on what happened. The 3 of them didn't know that the thing that was causing all 3 powerful cultivators to be distressed all came from one person. Ling Qianho's palm pressed down and opened the gate to the demon spirit land. Then he waved his sleeves and stepped inside. This palm landed on the gate to the demon spirit land, but what it shook was the entire demon spirit land. At this moment, all 9 countries of the demon spirit land trembled. The entire demon spirit land was filled with cries, and the sky was no longer blue but dark. The clouds churned and a giant vortex formed. This vortex was simply too big, it spread out and slowly rotated. Sword energy came from inside the vortex and spread out in the sky. An aura as overbearing as the sky appeared. At the same time, 7 rainbow-colored lights appeared from the vortex and descended. At this moment, all of the ancient demons came out from their respective holy lands and stared gloomily at the vortex in the sky. Bei Lu's eyebrows tightened as he looked up at the sky. After taking a glance, he waved his sleeves and disappeared. Several people walked out from the vortex in the sky. Ling Qianho stood in the sky wearing green robes. He looked down on the earth and shouted, "Greed, come out and meet this old man." His voice spread out like thunder rumbling across the sky. The ground immediately began to crack and spread. In the blink of an eye, Ling Qianho's voice spread across the entire demon spirit land. Strangely, everyone else seemed to already know that greed had come here, so they were not surprised. The blood ancestor's eyebrows furrowed and his face sank. The moment he stepped into the demon spirit land, he swept the entire land with his divine sense but discovered no trace of Yao Shishue. It was as if she had completely disappeared, and this made him even more uneasy. He took a deep breath and began to secretly activate a spell. He scanned again with his secret spell and his expression became even more gloomy. The All-Seer raised his right hand and pinched his fingers to calculate. From the outside, there was the East Demon Spirit Sea interfering with his divination, but now he was inside the Demon Spirit Land, so there was no longer anything obstructing him. Just at the moment these old monsters entered the Demon Spirit Land, Wang Lin leaped into the tide abyss. He flew down toward the bottom like a meteor. The suction force was like a powerful thruster that pushed Wang Lin deep into the pit. Ling Qianho's expression was gloomy. After his voice came out, he spread out his divine sense to sweep the area. In the extremely northern area, 2 other divine senses suddenly appeared and collided with him. Ling Qianho let out a muffled groan and his body trembled slightly, then his eyes shined brightly. At the same time, a cloud silently appeared before them. This cloud wasn't solid but only an illusion. A man and a woman were sitting on the cloud. These 2 were the celestial cloud couple, Wang Wei and Hu Huan. Wang Wei calmly looked at Ling Qianho and company. When his gaze landed on the All-Seer, his pupils shrank an unnoticeable amount. The All-Seer still had his eyes closed. He was calculating even after the 2 of them arrived. Wang Wei smiled. "Fellow cultivators, long time no see." Hu Huan also faintly smiled but didn't speak. Ling Qianho looked at Wang Wei and coldly said, "Fellow cultivator Wang, I noticed that greed is with you. Give him to me, I have important questions to ask him." Wang Wei smiled as he said to his lover, "Look, after so many years, not only has the Sword Saint's temper not lessened, it became even worse." Hu Huan revealed a tender gaze and smiled. It is understandable that the Sword Saint is worried about his disciples. Ling Qianho's expression was extremely gloomy. If it wasn't for that fact that he dreaded these 2, he would have already attacked them, given his personality. Wang Wei slapped his bag of holding and 2 people immediately flew out. One of them was Chen Long and the other was Greed. After Chen Long saw Ling Qianho, his eyes were filled with joy. He knelt down with moisture in his eyes and said, "Master." It was Greed, it was him who harmed all my junior apprentice brothers. Greed's expression was neutral without any changes. After he appeared, he just stood behind Wang Wei and Hu Huan as if he was an old slave. Ling Qianhu didn't look at Chen Long but stared at Greed and gloomily said, "Greed, you sure have guts." Although Greed's heart skipped a beat, his expression didn't change at all. He coldly looked at Chen Long and said, "Little kid, did this old man personally kill a single person of your Da Lu sword sect?" Chen Long viciously stared at Greed. Now that his master was here, he felt empowered and shouted, "Although you didn't personally kill us, you trapped us in the purple mist. If it wasn't for that, how could my junior apprentice brothers have died?" Greed laughed and said, "This old man trapped you all inside the mist in order to get the token, but did I harm a hair on you all? Instead of looking for the man who killed your junior apprentice brothers, you come and accuse me. What nonsense." Chen Long was about to speak, but unexpectedly, Ling Qianhu waved his sleeves and coldly said, "Chen Long, say no more." Ling Qianhu looked at Greed with killing intent and said, word for word, "Greed, where is the token?" Greed bitterly smiled and said, with a bitter expression, "You all may not believe me, but I swear upon my tens of thousands of years of cultivation that the token is not in my hands." Ling Qianhu stared at Greed without a word, waiting for him to continue. At this moment, aside from the All-Seer, who still had his eyes closed, all of the old monsters, including the Blood Ancestor, turned their sharp gazes at Greed. Greed's scalp went numb. Among the people present, aside from Chen Long, he had the lowest cultivation level. At this moment, he was being stared at by all of these powerful cultivators, and he felt his mind tremble. It took a moment for him to regain himself. He took a deep breath and quickly said, "It was the Heavenly Fate Sect's Wang Lin who took the token. Nephew Chen Long can testify to that. It was also him who killed the people of the Da Lu Sword Sect." Ling Qianhu frowned and looked at Chen Long. Chen Long quickly said, "Master, disciple only saw that Wang Lin had the token and was trapped by Greed. I don't know of what happened after. However, he did indeed kill several of my junior apprentice brothers." Just at this moment, the All-Seer suddenly opened his eyes and looked toward the east. "He wants to leave." The All-Seer's hand moved even faster and his gaze seemed to penetrate into the distance. It landed directly at the entrance to the Tide Abyss in the Water Demon country and penetrated down to the opening of the pit. However, his gaze didn't stop there and went straight down the pit. As Wang Lin descended, he immediately noticed. Then he immediately became one with the suction force and moved down even faster. The All-Seer felt his gaze being affected by the suction force. He hesitated for a bit before penetrating the suction force and going further down. The All-Seer's spell immediately caught Ling Qianhu and company's attention. Even the celestial cloud couple had surprise in their eyes. These old monsters all spread out their divine senses at this moment and followed the All-Seer's vision deep into the Tide Abyss. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he slapped his bag of holding and the 7-star sword formation flew out. The formation rotated around his body, making him even faster. Wang Lin rushed directly toward the bottom of the pit and soon he arrived at where the vortex was. At this moment, the All-Seer and the divine senses of all the old monsters descended. Ling Qianhu immediately saw the 7-star sword formation. This immediately made him enraged. The All-Seer also saw Wang Lin without any of the celestial slaughter branding. This made the All-Seer's gaze show a hint of coldness. Wang Lin stepped on the vortex, then he turned around and coldly looked at everyone before gradually sinking into it. A powerful force came out from the vortex and spread out. This power was simply too strong even for the All-Seer and company's divine sense. They could only retreat and watch Wang Lin completely enter the vortex. It wasn't that they didn't want to stop him, but the power coming from the vortex was the power that connected 2-star systems. This power was simply too strong. The moment Wang Lin's figure entered the vortex, the Blood Ancestor's divine sense stared at Wang Lin, and his expression was very gloomy. Just a moment ago, he felt Yao Shishue's aura on Wang Lin. It revealed Yao Shishue's struggle and rebellion, which made the Blood Ancestor conclude that Yao Shishue's disappearance had something to do with Wang Lin. It was very likely that Yao Shishue was captured by Wang Lin. His expression was extremely dark and he shouted, "Wang Lin, where is my daughter? There are not only 3 fake caves, but 4. Before Wang Lin disappeared, he left this sentence. Other people might not understand Wang Lin's words, but the blood ancestor immediately understood. The fourth fake cave was a secret only he and Yao Shishue knew. It was something Yao Shishue would not tell anyone else. This was also Wang Lin's hope. Although he was going to leave, he was going to completely stir this pot up. If the blood ancestor hadn't noticed Yao Shishue, it would have been fine. However, since he found out, Wang Lin must counterattack. His purpose was to make it so that the blood ancestor couldn't chase after him personally due to Yao Shishue. He believed that with these old monsters' minds, his words would help them make many associations. Wang Lin disappeared. The area around the vortex was completely silent. All these old monsters had gloomy expressions. They originally all had their own plans, and after hearing Wang Lin's words and seeing the blood ancestor's reaction, they all looked toward the blood ancestor. The blood ancestor felt like there were needles on his back. He pondered for a bit and said, "There is indeed a fourth fake cave, but it has obviously been occupied by this Wang Lin. He also has a token, so if he isn't captured, then there is no chance for us to enter the real cave." We already knew that this vortex was an entrance to the All-Heaven star system, but the power inside the vortex was too strong. This Wang Lin somehow obtained an item that allowed him to enter. All of us have tried to enter but could not succeed. However, if we join hands and only send one person, we should be able to do it. Ling Qianhu asked, in a heavy tone, "Who goes?" "If I say I'll go, then fellow cultivators would all be suspicious of me. The best choice is no doubt greed. Each of us will leave a restriction on him and then this greed will never escape our palms. He can only obediently capture Wang Lin and bring him back. Also, greed's cultivation level is high enough to deal with Wang Lin." The All-Seer silently stared at the vortex and his eyes revealed a mysterious light. No one knew what he was thinking. This video will end here.